Good morning. It is Tuesday morning, and we are definitely here for a transformation. That is a mindset to move from our mind to our heart, live out our soul purpose and the will of God in our life. So here's a question. Are you a boat stayer or a water walker? Boat stayer, water walker, because today's message was given to me by people that come to me and they're seeking advice, and there's so many things going on around in the world, and there's a biblical story that I want to share with you that will shift your perspective into who you believe you are, how you want to live, and what you believe your calling is to do in this life. So on the outside world, there's a growing momentum, you guys know, towards more fear, more restrictions, massive loss of freedoms, and it's all given in a message for us to supposedly believe that is all in our best interest and better for the whole. The problem is conforming to the world today, to the outside narrative, has life-changing consequences, and it's even beyond what we even know long-term and what our understanding is. So the country right now is being divided into the boat stayers or the water walkers. So what does that mean? Well, some people just want to play it safe. They're going to follow the crowd. They're going to do what they're told. They submit because it's easier. And so what do? They stay in the boat. Why? Because that's where people are. The boat represents safety. The boat represents certainty. There's other people. And when the boat, metaphorical boat, is full of people and there's crowds of people, it represents safety and protection. And so that means, what are you going to do? You're going to follow the crowd. You're going to do the thing that helps you feel protected. When people will cling so strongly and grip onto that safety and protection that they will stay in the boat even when the boat is sinking, hoping that it won't sink. So their strategy is hope. And as the boat is sinking, they're hoping it won't sink. It's kind of like the Titanic, when people were hoping that it wasn't going to sink rather than getting in some of the lifeboats, but those got filled right away anyway. So there's a difference, and that's what's going on today. There's a difference in the mental attitude, the emotional attitude, and the spiritual attitude between the boat stayers and the water walkers. So who are the water walkers? Those are people, the water walkers are people that get out of the boat. They won't submit because what other people are doing. They don't follow the crowd blindly just because the crowd is moving in one direction. The water walkers are independent thinkers. They question. They want to know why. They do their own research. They stand for what they believe in, and they would rather cut their own path than follow a crowd that's moving in the direction that they don't believe they're called to move. So the difference really comes in their faith and their confidence to one thing: who they believe they are. And because they have confidence in who they believe they are, and not that boat stayers don't, it's just a different mindset, right? So we're living in a human experience. We're spirits having a human experience. We're right now in this world today. We're all here to fulfill with a purpose. And when you realize, when you're a water walker, not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everyone is going to believe what you believe. In fact, most people won't, because the majority of the crowd is going to stay in the boat. So when you realize this, and you realize the people that don't agree with you, who may resist you, are the people that are closest to you. They may be your friends and family. So when those people want to get out of the boat and they want to walk on water, you're going to see other people trying to pull you back. You're going to see other people criticizing you. My question is, what are you committed to? Are you committed to fulfilling your life and soul purpose in this life? So I want to go through the story of exactly what I'm talking about. It's a biblical story, Matthew 14:22-31. And Jesus is teaching on the beach, and there's a big crowd of people. He tells the apostles, get on the boat, go to the other side of the lake, and when I'm done, I'll meet you there. So Jesus, now they're on the other side of the lake. The wind is blowing. There's waves. Jesus is walking across the water, and the disciples see something, and they see someone in the distance on the water. And so Matthew 14:26, when the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. Now get this. Imagine that there's someone you know so well. How far would they have to be from you to where you didn't recognize them? Because the apostles didn't recognize Jesus. Man, that is hundreds of feet, because you could almost recognize someone from a block away. If you saw him, even though they're literally like, hey, that looks like my nephew or whatever, So how far would he have to be? That's pretty darn far. But immediately Jesus says, take courage, give him courage. It is I. Don't be afraid. Okay, so here he calls out to afraid, and Peter automatically said, Lord, if it is you, tell me to come to you on the water. So Peter calls out for a miracle. He's in the boat. This is where we are today. We are in the boat. There's waves crashing against the boat. That's the world. The wind is boisterous. That's the world. There's all this momentum. There's all this outside noise. And Peter calls and says, call me to come to you. And Jesus says, come. So right now, Peter's got to make a choice. Am I going to stay in the boat where it appears safe, or am I going to go for the miracles of God? Am I going to step out into the waves and into the wind? Am I going to follow my calling when Jesus says, come? Are you following the calling? So we want to hear God's voice. So are you going to stay in the boat and play it safe, or are you going to step out of the boat? We want to hear the voice of God. We want to know what God's will is for our life. We want to do the right thing. So the question is, what will you do when you feel like you're called or you're asked to do something that's uncomfortable? Are you going to go against what everybody else is thinking? Are you going to do what you feel you're called to, or are you going to stay in the illusion of safety? Are you going to stay where you don't want to make other people feel bad? Are you going to listen to the criticism of the crowd in the world? What if you're called to do the hard thing, meaning get out of the boat, expect the miracles of God, venture out into uncertainty? So here's the secret. If you've ever done the hard thing so many times, rather than, you chose what to do things right, then you realize doing the hard thing is easier than taking the easy way out. Because when you take the easy way out, there's other consequences and other pain. So we learn it's really easier to do the hard thing when it's the right thing than it is to take the easy way out. How many people besides me have ever done that, right? Sometimes just way better to do the hard thing. And if you're married or you have kids, there's a good place to start. Or you have your own business, we're full of opportunities to do the right thing, which is many times the hard thing. So that's it. So when you give up the need to be liked and accepted, you gain the gift of being loved and respected. And people are searching for leaders today. So here's the question. Peter has that choice. The waves are crashing against the boat. The wind is boisterous. Are you listening to the world, the wind and the waves, or are you listening to the word? Are you listening to the world, or are you listening to the word? Because here's the word. Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve that God's will is his good, pleasing, and perfect will. What's that mean? That means you want to do the will of God. You want to fulfill your calling. You want to fulfill your soul purpose. You got to step out of the boat. And with all the waves and the wind and all the things that go on in the world, what are you going to do at that moment? Because when we look at this story in the Bible in Matthew, 11 people stayed. One person walked. One person stepped out of the boat, left certainty, and began to experience the miracles of God. So what are you called to do? So Peter gets out of the boat. He's walking all this distance. Imagine that's got to be hundreds. It's at least 100 yards, probably 100 yards. Walks out, and then all of a sudden starts looking around, sees the waves, sees the wind, and what's he do? He gets scared, and he starts sinking. Jesus reaches out his hand, Now imagine you've walked all that way. You are an arm's distance from your destination, from your glory, from your miracle, from your deliverance. And then you lose faith. Jesus puts out his hand and says, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" Because when we look out into the world with all this momentum of what's going on and the narrative and all the stories that are out there, do you doubt your calling? Self-doubt puts us in fear, and fear makes us want certainty, and that certainty makes us want to stay in a boat that is sinking. But are we going to step out into the glory of God, into the miracles of God? So my personal mantra is, whenever I feel like I want certainty and I know I'm being called, I say, with God, things always get better. You always have to step out of the boat, because with God, it gets better. I know if I trust him. I know if I do the hard thing. I don't know how it's going to work, but I know if I trust and I step out towards the calling of my heart and my spirit and my soul purpose, that eliminates the biggest barrier, which is self-doubt. That's it. So in today's world, the wind is definitely boisterous. The waves are crashing against the boat. They crash against the boat. There is water filling up the boat, yet there is protection and perceived protection and safety with a group of people. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to have that certainty? Or are you going to call out the miracle? Are you going to move toward God? Are you going to step out of the boat? Are you going to pray, listen to your divine guidance, and listen to your divine intuition? Are you going to act in faith with conviction, even if it's not popular, even if the people in the boat are trying to hold you back? When you know that you're spiritually grounded, are you going to step out of that boat toward the miracle of God, so God can create miracles in your life, not only help you fulfill your purpose, but become a leader, so you don't succumb and conform to the patterns of the world, but you step out into the will of God, which is your sole purpose. So in today's world, when the wind is blowing, when the waves are crashing, are you going to be a boat stayer, or are you going to be a water walker? Let's step out. Let's walk on water with the miracles of God, and let's do it together. All right. Love you guys. Peace.